be going that route.
All right, I gotta say thank you to Representative Scalise.
Thanks, Eric.
All right, joining me now on our panel is on the left, Columbia University professor Marc Lamont Hill. On the right, Fox News contributor Andrea Tantaros and Guardian Angels founder Curtis Sliwa. We also have Carolyn Heldman back with us. Curtis, you heard both sides of it. Here, the left tell us that we need more green energy, and then the guy who's in the middle of it in Louisiana saying, hey, drill here, drill there.
Oh, we can do it all, and I'm all for drilling. In fact, I'll take a look at your teeth afterwards, and I'll drill in there. But, hey, what about your friends, the speculators on Wall Street? There's all pump, no dump. Here, every time a rock is thrown, all of a sudden the price goes up. The Saudis turned the spigot on. They replaced everything that Libya was putting into world oil market. We have more oil now than we used within one day. These speculators are making mad money. They're profiteers. It's fear, fright, hysteria, and hype. That's how they're fleecing the American public.
I was on your radio show, and we did this morning again. You're pointing the finger at speculators. I'm not here defending Wall Street or speculators, but the real culprit, the real person, the real group you should be pointing your finger at is the Obama administration for not drilling.
Well, they're married to the environmental movement, which has basically shackled Obama. Now, don't forget, Obama was for drilling before he was against it. He came out months before the BP spill and said, yes, I'm open to offshore drilling. So let me ask you something. This spill happened, right? And of course, there's bad actors, and BP is one of them. They've played fast and loose with the rules for a long time. If there's a drunk driver on I-87 and it causes a crash, do you shut down I-87 forever? No, I don't think so. If it's not... If it's not acceptable on the highways, it shouldn't be acceptable in drilling, especially when national security is at risk.
I just want to point out that the president was against it before he was for it as well.
Against it before he was for it, before he was against it.
That's right.
Thank you.
He's just a weatherman when it comes to oil. Yeah, he doesn't care. I think he does pretty much whatever the
You're right. He doesn't care, Mark.
He doesn't care about this issue,
and
I think he should.
Issue, Mark, and I just pointed this out with the congressman.
Shocking.
$640 million per day. Per day. That's the amount of money more out of our pocket, not total. That's since Obama took office. In other words, it was $1.83 when he took office. It's now $3.52. The difference is $640 million per day going overseas.
Now, let's not forget that during the Bush administration, we also saw those kind of spikes and drops, too. So it's not just under the Obama administration.
Oh, we saw spikes. And it dropped when? Carolina, here's a quiz. July 14th, 2008. You know what happened? That was the day. Do you have any idea what happened that day?
I do. I believe it was the historic increase in oil prices as marked by
Well, no, that
AAA.
was 2 days prior. That day I'm pointing out is the day that President Bush, that Marc Lamont Hill agreed to drop the drill bit into the ocean. Guess what happened to prices? They tumbled.
And we agree on that, Eric. I've never disagreed that drilling will drop oil prices. I've never disagreed that it's not an economically sound thing to do. The question is, does it make sense in light of environmental concerns? For me, I've never made the economic argument. I've made the environmental concerns. So what we've seen just in the last few months with Obama, who goes all over the place on this, is that he's not demanding more transparency.
Does it make sense to Marc Lamont Hill, professor?
It absolutely does not make sense.
Does it make sense environmentally?
No, not in the current policy
What's
moment.
the price?
Because we're not demanding.
What's the price? There's got to be a price. Everyone has their price.
What do you mean, what's the price? You mean like the consequence?
Does gasoline have to get to that Marc Lamont Hill says,
there's no...
Okay, go ahead, drop the drill bit into the ocean.
I'm not willing to buy into this idea, no matter how high gas prices get, because this is about environment. I'd like to live, Eric.
Dr. Heldman, is there
I don't want to die.
Is there a price that Americans have to pay for gasoline before you agree it's time to start drilling more offshore?
Well, there's no magical price, but I would hope that we would, by the time the prices got so high that it was really, basically killing poor people because they couldn't afford to eat, I would hope that we would move to alternative supplies. And I would agree with Dr. Hill that, we have studies coming out now showing that the bottom of the Gulf Coast has been decimated in parts because of what happened with the BP spill. And if you really want to get into this analogy about driving on the freeway and there's been a big accident, you don't close the freeway. Well, you sure as heck close it if there are a ton of drunk drivers, which are the oil companies, still doing the same things they were doing in the first place, which is causing an accident.
So until that changes, not true. And you know what, Caroline? If they are so
reckless, not true? What's not true?
If they are so reckless, why did the Obama administration give them the safety award of the year to BP the year before the spill?
And give them the first permit.
Yeah.
That was a mistake.
I'm not arguing they're not in. I'm not arguing they're not in bed together. But what's not true? Are you saying that oil companies have dramatically altered their procedures in the Gulf Coast?
How do you from your classroom know that these oil companies are not using safe practices? How do you know that?
How do you know that? I know that because 11 people died.
Have you seen another spill?
Last thought, Dr. Heldman.
I would say that there have been about 30 spills in the past decade, and that is evidence enough for me.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there.
Compared to how much drilling they do,
And we'll
it's
talk
not
about
a
it a
lot.
lot more. We have another block on this. Thank you again to Dr. Heldman. Up next, he was against it, and now he's for it. The president and his flip-flop stand on Guantanamo Bay. Did he finally see the light?